Good morning, people in YouTube land. Good morning. I want to share a couple things with you. Hopefully, this caffeine replacement will suffice. Hope all is well. One thing I forgot to get before I came to the Airbnb, and thanks to discipline, I didn't solve it with other methods, but I forgot to get caffeine. As a matter of fact, now that I think of it, I do have caffeine. The audio sounds exquisite. For the three of you watching, if you don't mind hitting the like button, I will be forever grateful. Just tap it. Just tap it. We're talking about philosophical questions to a thought-provoking conversational outcome. Questions is how we study wisdom. Is how I study wisdom. Is how I prefer to study wisdom. Is through the art of asking and answering questions. We're gonna get right into it. Number one. Is there such a thing as fate? How much free will do we actually have to make our own choices, and what is predetermined for us at birth? So to start with the first part of the question, is there such a thing as fate? I heard a quote. It says something to the effect of the things that happen to us that we tend to not, I'm butchering it. The point is that we tend to call a lot of things fate that aren't. Things that are simply within our control, but it's much easier to just point at fate and say, well, it was always going to happen that way. I have no control. It's all these things. Even this morning when I woke up, a lot of thoughts went through my mind of what should I do this morning? Should I go live? Should I try to squeeze it in before checkout? And the answer came to me is like, Brad, just do it. Just find something to talk about and just go on there. Don't overthink it. Don't dig into it. Just grab a topic to discuss and go. Now, if I didn't, decide to do what I'm doing currently, would I call it fate? Would I blame circumstances? And I wish I had more time. I wish I had this. No, it's quite simple. It's quite simple. The question that I always bring up when the topic of free will comes up is: do you look both ways before you cross the street? And the point of that question is to emphasize the fact that there's so many moments in our day that we're making decisions. We have no clue that we are, and the ramifications of such decisions and the gravity thereof. But it's much easier to just put it off onto this entity that we have no way of knowing exists. The entity being called fate, of course. It's much easier to blame fate. We blame society. Society's not a real person. It's a group of individuals. So when you say, well, society says, well, that's personification. That's not a valid argument. To say that, society's making an argument, even to claim, in a lot of cases, and you see this a lot on the internet, where people are claiming that the majority believes this. The majority is saying the following. I've even done that, myself, as far as, I can't remember the appeal to the majority. I believe is the logical fallacy, where we simply assume things that are not true, and if we're arguing against a lesser mind, they're just going to go with it. They're not going to call you on it. And of course, stats being thrown back and forth in various arguments. Here's what I think about free will, especially in my current place. When I wake up and like every decision I make, good or bad, is my fault. It kind of simplifies my life into the fact that, all right, I'm not including all these countless opinions into this decision. I'm not considering them, and it allows you to take back control of your life, and you will feel the empowerment of, all right, if I mess up, I have to live with those mistakes. If I succeed, I get to live with the bounty, of my decision making. And so, yeah, woe to those who would rather, insinuate that someone else has control of their life. It doesn't make sense. And you won't like where you end up. I promise you. It's much easier, and this sounds weird, but it's much easier to end up somewhere around your goals than to take all the opinions around you and try to find the silver lining between them and operate within that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And of course, you will be very quick to blame everyone else when your plans fall through because you included too many opinions of those who don't have to live with your decisions. And so just keep that in mind. The latter part of it, how much free will do we actually have to make our own choices? What is predetermined for us at birth? How much free will do we actually have to make our own choices? All of it. All of it. I think the issue is that a lot of us don't like the options that we have, and so we say we don't have the ability to choose. When there are plenty of options. Everyone's claiming there's pee in the dating pool. You're in the dating pool too, bruh. Transitive property applies to anyone within the bounds of this pool. And so, yeah, we're all participating in urine-infested waters. Not liking the choices does not mean you don't have any. It means you're unwilling to consider all of your options. When I was in the military trying to find a way out, and I'm like, brother, I hate it here. The topic was brought up. All right, if these are the options that you would prefer. You would prefer to Palace Chase, Palace Front, Skill Bridge. These are the options that you actually have. These are options you actually have. And in addition to these are options you actually have. And you realize, all right, well, yeah, some of them have discomfort built into them. Some of them are unpleasant, but they're options. They're options. Moving on. Number 2. How do you know when you're being genuine or authentic to your true self? I like this question. When I was reading through the list, this question intrigued me. How do you know when you're being genuine or authentic to your true self? The first thing that came to mind was risk. And the fact that if I have to feel like I'm risking something, that's typically how I know I'm being myself. When I feel like there's an opportunity for rejection, if I have to use courage in that moment, I'm being authentic. Because, and this is something that I've gotten wrong for years, and a lot of people get wrong for years, is that the only way to make true friends is to be authentic. Because the person who's going to like you for you is hoping that you're being your true self and not that you're going to change in a couple weeks. Be yourself. Risk people not liking you, but you're also accepting the probability of those same people liking you. But they have no way of knowing who the real you is unless you present them an option to reject you. And it's not that bad, I promise you. It's my goal to seek rejection daily. I have a chart. I keep track of all my moments of courage, because courage is when I feel most alive. And so I have to force myself to pursue it. I have to force myself to be uncomfortable. I have to force myself to go in pursuit of things that aren't certain. I'm like, I don't have enough answers. I don't have all the resources. I don't have all the answers right now to pursue this idea. But yeah, you got to go anyway. Set an alarm clock and jump. Set an alarm clock and jump. Also, one thing that goes along with being authentic is it includes a measure of selfishness. And it sounds bad when you first say it, like you have to be a little bit selfish. It's true, though. You're going to have to pursue what you desire, and what you desire only. How many people went to college, went into student loan debt because their parents wanted them to be a doctor, and now they're miserable? And think about the countless videos, the countless people who have made videos talking about how they got all the way into med school, got into 3rd, 4th year, and then they drop out or they fail a class, and now they're just stuck with the debt. And it's not like you can just roll your schooling into a different course. A lot of it you have to do over. A lot of it is pass or fail, no exceptions. And so it's different when you truly consider, all right, what do I want personally? Not my parents, not my children, not no one around me. What does Ray want? It's a scary question to ask, because you might not like the answers you get. And temporarily, especially in a friendship context, you might butt heads with people around you. If you're pursuing what you desire, they're pursuing what they desire, they may not be going the same direction. So it might be something you have to consider. But it's worth it to pursue what you desire, because if you catch it, you get to live with that. If you don't succeed, it's your fault. A lot of people point, but it's truly your fault. It's empowering to realize I have full control over what I do with my day. It's still morning. It's 9:21 a.m. I have a full day ahead of me. What will I do with my time? And for one, get my live stream out. When was the last time you felt this? And that's referring to being your authentic, genuine self. I would say any time I travel alone, which I do every day, or when I go to a new group setting, a group of individuals, church, what have you, and I have to go out of my way to force myself to manually override and say, Ray, you will be authentic. You're going to be yourself, which means you're going to say bruh. Go ahead and let it out. You're going to say bruh. You're going to be sarcastic. You're going to be yourself. You're going to be yourself. It's much easier to be yourself. It takes all the stress off, because once people meet the real you, and they're still there. I posted on Threads how most of your family members have experienced your toxicity, and they still love you. They still love you. They still keep coming around. They still call you. They still support you. Honor them. Honor them. They know everything about you, and yet they still stay. All the traits about ourselves that we try to hide, and like, there's no way people will know about the real me. They already know. They already know. You're not the only person in the world with discernment, where I see what you're going through. I see what you... Yeah, some people are looking right at you and looking through you, and they understand you. And our pride tends to get in the way often, where, I'm on this level because of the following, arguable, ideas, and they're below me. It's not true. It's not true. Number 3. Did I just lose? That's why we have contingencies. Moving on. Mercy of God. Number 3. Because humans live according to conclusions made through inductive reasoning, is there any truth to logic, math, or scientific and everyday assumptions that we make? Can we be certain about anything? This question makes my blood flow to my nether regions. Because humans live according to conclusions made through inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is basically it's experience. It's your experience of the world. It's anecdotal. It's subjective. It's relative. This is your personal experience, how you felt, what you saw, what you experienced, what you desired, what you didn't like. That's your inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is a standard. It's science. It's the measure of gravity, the theory of gravity, of course. The measure of density. It's something that's imperial. It's something that's standard based. It's not relative to each individual. I think it's daylight. No, it's objectively daytime. And so yeah, and of course the importance of words. If you hear people make arguments, you can tell if they're making an inductive argument or a deductive argument. Inductive arguments are true for one person. They're true for one person. They're 100% true for one person. Deductive arguments are mostly true for most people. Mostly true for most people. So yeah, that's inductive reasoning. So that was the setup of the question. Is there any truth to logic, math, or scientific everyday assumptions that we make? So before we can even answer the question, we have to address the assumptions that this question is asking. The first part of the question is an assumption. It says, because humans live according to conclusions made through inductive reasoning. Who says we do that? It's an option, but who says we tend to do that? The foundation of this question is an assumption. So we're dismissing the premise. Before you answer the question, we dismiss the premise. Because humans might live according to conclusions made through inductive reasoning, is there any truth to logic, math, or scientific and everyday assumptions that we make? Well, of course there's truth to it, because there's a customer of one. If you're starting a company and you think, all right, how can I sell this to the masses? First, ask yourself, would I buy this? Would I participate? Would I go? Would I invest? Would I spend any time there? That's inductive. Deductive reasoning exists everywhere, and I think it has to. It has to, or this world will fall apart. This world is built on the back and the foundation of order. That's why there's speed limits. It's to keep order. It's not to keep you from, truly experiencing your Hellcat. I don't know why people buy such expensive cars they can't fully maximize. But that's the point of order, is to help. First of all, it's to identify chaos. Order allows you to identify what's wrong in your body. Pain is disorder. It's telling you something's out of order. Your body should be in homeostasis, right standing, righteousness, functioning perfectly. When it's not, you experience pain. I would argue that there's plenty of truth, logic, math, scientific, and everyday assumptions, that there's truth in all of it. But we can't, because I don't want to appeal to the majority either and say, well, if everyone have a similar anecdotal experience, it must be true. That's not true. That's not true. Just because everyone believes it does not make it true. So we're at a place where we're searching for truth, and it's my personal opinion that outside of anecdotal experience of God, even though He is objectively in existence, I don't believe we're capable of arriving at truth while we're in a human body on planet Earth. Because we have our perception, we have to view the world through our perception. I don't believe the ability to pause at, okay, this is absolutely true. I don't think we're capable of that as humans. And so, of course, we have deductive reasoning where we try to establish standards of objectivity. But then we still have our subjective view of objectivity and how we interpret it and how we standardize it. Imperial system, metric system. Which one's right? Which one's wrong? Well, that's appeal to majority. Most people use the metric system. Does that make the imperial system wrong? No. It's a preference. It's an opinion. It's anecdotal. It's inductive. You have an option to be deductive, which appeals simply, in most cases, to more people. But truth, I don't think, is accessible to humans outside of maybe the Bible and God. And even that requires faith. Moving on. Oh, I enjoyed that question. Number 4, who are you? Who are you? There's multiple ways to answer this question. Maybe we should ingest some reefer. Who are you? And by the way, y'all should be answering these questions as we go along too. Don't be making me answer them alone. Who am I? I like to call myself a modern day version of Solomon, adjusted for inflation. I enjoy learning. I enjoy winning because I'm well learned. I enjoy competition when I win. If we're being honest, I'm quite jealous. But I use that jealousy to drive my competition and my ambition. I love the feelings associated with anger and melancholy. I enjoy being relaxed most of the time so I can think about other things than responsibilities. There's plenty of reality to go around. I have no interest in reality. I want imagination. I love wisdom. I love wisdom. Wisdom has given me so many edges in life, especially as it relates to my peers, people I compete with, in the capitalistic marketplace. I enjoy having edge and realizing that, all right, if the Bible's true, and the Bible tells me wisdom is the principal thing, and it shows me all the advantages of those who are wise versus those who are unwise, and then I see it in the real world played out that there's wise decisions, there's unwise decisions, and I see the ramifications and the consequences thereof. I love the advantages it gives me. It removes pain. Wisdom removes pain from your life and the potential for pain. It's quite difficult to make wise decisions and experience pain. It's very difficult. Very difficult. I'm a man of God. I enjoy being the son of a king. I enjoy that. It comes with perks. I'm a competitor in pretty much every sense of the word. I love competing with people. And even better, I love winning. What else? I'm a nerd. This camera that I'm recording with, most people don't know it exists because it's such a quality find. Not as pretty popular, but to arrive at certain places in life, I've had to study. I enjoy knowing that the edge I have in life is that I'm willing to do things that other people are not willing to do. I'm willing to go out of my way. I'm willing to sleep in my car. I'm willing to wake up early. I'm willing to go to bed late. I'm willing to be homeless intentionally. I'm willing to do things that other people are unwilling to do just so I can beat them. When I first came down here to Florida during COVID, and it wasn't the first time I came down, but when I came down here during COVID, and I saw how other people were living, and it reeked of they have no cares in the world. There is no COVID. There is no pandemic. There's no epidemic. There's no disease floating through the air killing people. It was. I went to Key West, and I'm like, these people don't have a care in the world. They're living as if everything is right in the world. Why am I suffering, bruh, in Alaska of all places? Oh, these people have an option. And you guys know I've talked at length about I want the option to choose. Well, now I have too many. And trust me, there are downsides to having too many options. There are objective downsides to having too many options. The paradox of choice. I used to dream. I'm like, bro, if I just wake up on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Monday morning, a Friday morning, and I can do anything I want to do. I can go anywhere I want to go. I can wear whatever I want to wear. I can just book tickets at will and be in a different country in a couple hours. And other people are sitting in cubicles and they're miserable and they hate their life. If there's an option to be better, I want it. If there's a higher quality of life accessible to humans, I want it. If there's a state in the U.S. that has perfect weather year round, I want to live there. If the ocean is accessible to Americans, it's on our U.S. soil, and people can go out there and do yoga and walk the beach and grounding and absorbing D3 and what have you, vitamin D, smoking reefer on the beach legally. This is 100. There's people doing life for marijuana that, I mean, this is hemp, but I bought this from a smoke shop, a gas station equivalent. 100% legal. Wisdom allows you to do things that other people don't have access to. Wisdom will allow you to access certain opportunities, certain experiences that other people don't know exist. Because wisdom will have you studying while everyone else is excited and partying and turning up. Like, I want a different life. I only have one. I would much rather spend my day as a black man laying on the beach, smoking weed, reading a book, than doing anything else. Doing anything else. Who are you? In a lot of ways, I think I'm better than people. In a lot of ways, I think I'm better than people. Doesn't make it true. But I think it to be so. I pay great attention to detail. I operate in a level of cognitive dissonance that is probably off the charts in terms of you know the right answer and comparing that to what you actually do in your actions. I might be the poster child for cognitive dissonance because I study so much, therefore I know so much, and I have so much information available to me, just off the top of my head. But when it comes to doing that and doing the action, it's complicated. I'm a man who's obsessed with winning. And winning via wisdom, which means I want to win with ease. When I woke up this morning, the sound of air conditioning woke me up, not kids. The sound of air conditioning, not gunfire outside my door, not niggas yelling. I woke up to the sound of air conditioning. The next sound, I'll be listening to some weights go up and down, then the ocean, the banter of a coffee shop, the sound of my car rolling down the highway. Here's the thing that I would not teach wisdom if I didn't think it would help people, because it's helped me. And we're not doing what we did yesterday with that. Start crying everywhere. Just oil everywhere. I hate the fact that there are people in the hood that have no clue. That have no clue what they could have and what they could be and where they could be in life. They're clueless. All they think is, all right, my dad was in the streets. I'm in the streets. My little brother's in the streets. It's the only way we know how to get back. Like, unless we're a pro athlete getting out of the hood, And you realize, all right, if you study wisdom, you can have access to the same lives as these 60s and 50-year-old, rich white people living down here. I live in the same neighborhoods. I don't pay anything of what they're paying because I use wisdom. I frequent the same beaches at the same time they do. I go to the same cigar lounges, and I study. I observe. I'm like, what makes them different than me? Why do they get to live a life that I don't have access to? Let's see who's in this chat. First of all, we gotta watch it from Twitch, bro. I'm grateful, bro. Nobody cares for you. Hey, that's low key facts, bro. I have so many questions, but it's hard to have intellectual conversations when I have to type each reply. Hey, ask your questions, bro. Ask your questions, man. Drop them down in the chat. Victoria Yates in here. Happy New Year. Appreciate you watching, coming through. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, on topic, off topic, drop them in the chat. Drop them in the chat. We got a little bit of time here. So yeah, who am I? I'm a man obsessed with wisdom and strategy and winning and competition. And you may not see it physically in terms of what I do, but mentally. It's a simile line. Moving on. Number 5. Why were you born? Let's just stop there. Why were you born? I was born because I was designed and created to solve a problem that no one else on Earth in the history of mankind is capable of solving. In terms of their purpose, in terms of their design. You would not eat cereal with a wrench because it wasn't designed to do that. Functionally, you would eat 0 cereal if you used a wrench to try to scoop your... It doesn't work that way. It wasn't designed for that purpose. I was designed to study wisdom. Why? Because everything about me, when I get around it, when I hear it, when I see it, when I touch it, when I taste it, it makes my teeth white. It makes me mentally erect. I promise you. A quality question. I'm telling you, man. I was born to study and teach wisdom. Problem solving. What gives your life meaning? Death. If life was endless, it would be valueless. If it just went on and on, if you had unlimited supply budget, everything is kind of meaningless now. That's why I live a minimum. This is the bag I carry around. And I have a computer bag that, carry my laptop. But I don't own anything. These are all the clothes I own. All of them. Every now and then I'll rotate them out. I bought this yesterday. I rotate them out and I'll throw some away. I'm a minimalist. Which means everything I carry has value. I have one microphone. Well, I have several. I have one laptop, one camera, 2. The point being is that when you're essentialist, you're not just buying things to have them. Like when I have closet space, I don't buy things to put in there. For what? I have trunk space? Perfect. My trunk should be empty. Like space. You will be surprised, bruh. Why? The things people are pursuing and then they get them. That was one of the hardest things for me is like once I start experiencing life and like I start getting things and you realize this has no intrinsic value to me. I don't benefit by touching this, by buying this, by owning this. It's not helping me. I drive a Nissan. As much as I would love a better car and a flashier car and a louder car, I enjoy my car payment. I enjoy my car insurance where it sits. My car insurance is paid off. And then in 6 months, I'll just buy another policy. I enjoy the peace that comes with simplicity. When I was deployed, we were driving these old Toyota trucks. But we could use them anytime we wanted for the most part. I'm like, why would I need to drive a Mercedes when I could just drive this truck for free? What gives your life meaning? Death. It's going to end. Once your life ends, now you're done. You're done. I always simulate the conversations of getting to heaven and people asking you, how was your life on earth? Imagine the beings in heaven. Again, we're just doing a thought experiment. Imagine the beings in heaven when you get there and they ask you, what was it like to be a human? You got to live on earth? What was it like to be in love? What was it like to be heartbroken? What was it like to travel, to drive? You went on the water? You went underwater? You met humans from which countries? Oh, you served in the military? Oh. You went to the headquarters. You worked at the Pentagon. We only heard stories about them from Peter and Paul, and they lived in synagogues and temples and what have you, and huts and tents. You lived in what's a suburb? Well, it's where the demographics are a bit different. Property value goes up. Imagine if you couldn't, if you could just watch people living, kind of like a third person point of view. What would you be saying to the screen? I'm like, Brett, just keep going, Brett. Just try something else, Brett. Just do it. Just do it again. Just try again. Just ask again. Just seek again. Sometimes we're too close to our lives, and we need to back up and say, Brett, this is pretty nice, Brett. This is pretty. I have to constantly remind myself, Brett, you're living in your dream life. It may not feel like it all the time. You're living in the life that you wanted. You have it now. Now what? The only thing that gives my day-to-day life meaning is knowing I'm going to die one day. That day could be today. Did I do today what I valued? What I truly wanted to pour myself into? Did I do that today? Not tomorrow, not yesterday. Today. Today. After I get off live stream, will I pursue what I value today? Will I throw myself into it? Or will I say, let's do it tomorrow. Let's save some money. For what? I invest. I save. But how much? I think last year alone, I spent 10 grand on food. Food. There's an app that you guys should all have. It's called Rocket Money. And all it does is track your spending. You can use Mint or all these various other substitutes. But it tracks your spending. And it just tells you, this is what you thought was valuable last year, last month, last week, today, yesterday. It just tracks your spending. And your spending will tell you, your money will, if you follow the money, you follow the breadcrumbs, it tells you and shows you what you value. Apparently, I value speed because I ate at Wendy's like 100 sometimes. Dunkin' Donuts, probably the only place I go to more than Wendy's. You know, all right, I value speed, but is there a way to get healthy food fast? Is there a way to meal prep to get healthy food fast? Death gives your life meaning. Knowing that your parents are going to die, knowing that your siblings are going to die, your friends are going to die, you're not getting out of life alive, that is enough. That should be enough incentive for you to realize, I only have today. Let me pursue something of value. Moving on. Alternatively, do you believe life is completely random and therefore lacks any meaning? No. No. Absolutely not. If life was completely random, how am I talking to 8 people that are in various locations around the world? That sounds like integrated complexity. Integrated complexity does not happen via chaos. You can't blow up a factory and get an iPhone. There's the requirement of integrated complexity. This piece matches this piece, and they work in congruence. They work together. This is also where like the word fate comes in, where people just kind of, life has no meaning in nihilism. There's nothing to do. It's not true. And I've been there in the place of nihilism where I'm struggling to find meaning. I'm like, bro, all right. So I did live stream and I answered questions. Now what? I did live stream. I answered questions. I went and got coffee. I went to the gym. I went to the beach. Now what? All right. So I'm adding some clips. I booked a ticket 2 nights ago. I'm not gonna say where. I'm not gonna say when I'm leaving. But I booked a ticket because I realized, nigga, you are afraid. And we're just gonna do it. We're not gonna do it well. We're gonna set a date. We're gonna do it. We're gonna set a date and we're gonna go. Why? Sometimes speed is the only way to overwhelm indecisiveness. Sometimes speed is the only way to overwhelm indecisiveness. Sometimes you have to change the priority in the moment. All right, if we have all these options, these are well thought out, well developed options. Now what do I do? Which one do I choose? Sometimes just say, all right, for the next 5 seconds, the priority is speed. Which one is the best? Which one should we go with? And typically, the first thing that comes to mind is usually the answer. When I go to a restaurant and I look at the menu, I scan through it, take about 10 seconds to just look through each page, and I close it. And I wait for the waitress to come, or the waiter to come. Why? Because I already know what I want. And usually, until the pressure is on you to, all right, just pick something, then all of a sudden, what you truly want comes out. Life is not meaningless. It's not random. It may seem like that if you're uninitiated, if you're unwise, if you're a fool. The world just seems like it's just. But if you take some time to study law of thermodynamics, physics, science, cosmology, you realize there's meaning everywhere. That's where we get languages from, such as mathematics. That's where we get languages in general. How are we communicating? There's rules. How are we all driving on the same roads going 60 miles an hour in opposing directions, inches from each other? Because there's rules, there's order. There's a proper way of doing things. And when you find that way, it's your choice whether or not you decide to do it that way. And if you choose not to do the wise way, God's way, then you'll choose your own way, and then you realize, oh, this comes with pain. I don't like this route so much. As a lot of experience built in, a lot of pain built in, I'd rather just read this book and go that way. One thing I've come to terms with, and I'll move on after this, one thing I've come to terms with is I'm forcing myself to be okay with being bored. It does not matter. I'm going to force myself to be bored and enjoy it. Because being bored is a privilege. It's a privilege. To have nothing to do, it's a privilege. The last part of the question says, do you have to create your own meaning? I would say yes, and you have to create your own meaning, but you also have to discover your own meaning. It's both. Because creating your own meaning assumes that you weren't born with it. It assumes that it's not intrinsically already within you. The meaning, the purpose of your life, and the value to others that you bring. But I truly believe you have to discover it, because most people don't know what they like. They have to discover what they like. There's certain seafoods I've never tried, and I'm probably unwilling to try them. But I probably like sushi. I probably like salmon. I'm just unwilling to try it. But through discovery, you tend to find meaning and purpose and direction, and I like that and dislike that. Sometimes disliking something, discovering something that you dislike, that's all you needed to do. Sometimes you discover what you do like by finding something you don't like. I tried this, I did not like it, but it tastes quite similar to that, and I actually do like that. That's called serendipity. Novelty is what I look for. That's why I try a lot of things, is because I know there's serendipity in order. There's serendipity everywhere. If I try this, but I discover this, it's kind of like you watch a video, and it's not so much that video that you liked, but the one below it that was recommended. You click that one, and you loved that one. And then the one after that, you love that one. The next one, all right, not so much. You hate that one. Then you go to the next one. Life is like a YouTube algorithm. You just try things, and you discover, and you discover, and you discover. Life is a video game. There are rules. You don't have unlimited lives, but life is a video game. You have money coming in. You choose what you buy with it. You can go spend all your money. You go $200 you start the game with. You can go spend all of it on clothing, and then you have no money for guns and cars. That's your choice. The only difference between video games and real life is fear. In a video game, everyone is 6 foot tall. Everyone's muscular. Everyone's shredded to the bone. Everyone has top endurance. All the sliders put up. Everyone drives the nicest cars, has the biggest houses. Why? Because there's no fear in the game. People just do what they want. People just do what they want in video games. The second it becomes real life, everyone's timid and slow and indecisive and paralyzed by indecisiveness, and it's too much. It's too much to take in, and there's no meaning, and there's really no purpose. Live your life like a video game. You realize it's a lot more fun. A lot more fun. Moving on. Number 6. How can you distinguish art from something that isn't art? This is a very good question. Very good question. How can you distinguish art from something that isn't art. One thing that is said to be art are tattoos. And tattoos are simply it's self-harm masquerading as art. I think art might be one of the few areas, along with maybe music, that is purely and should be so subjective. Subjective. I don't think anyone can call something art and it not be art by their own truth standard. Objectively, I don't think there's a standard for what is art and what isn't art. I don't think that is allowed to exist in the arts. I could be wrong, but I truly believe that art, which includes music, is one of the few areas in life where the artist is not wrong at all. The artist might be inappropriate, they might be a bit too much, or they might be untalented, but whatever they produce from their mind is right, is true. That's their art. I don't know. That's a very good question. How do you distinguish art from something that isn't art? That's a very good question. Unfortunately, I don't have a objective answer for that one. I don't know. That's something to marinate on. Number 7. I like a good dilemma. Would you kill one person you love to save 100 strangers? The second part of the question is, would you kill 100 strangers to save the one you love? These questions are like coffee, I promise you. First part of the question, would you kill one person you love to save 100 strangers? No. 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 Would you kill one person to love? Would you kill one person you love to save 100 strangers? Absolutely not. No. I was going down the roster of people I love. It's not a long list, but I can't imagine killing one of those people to save 100 people I don't know. I promise you, I'm one of the few people that have the capability to not care about certain things and certain people. I'm not sure it's a healthy mindset, but there's certain people that I just observe people. I'm like, man, some people just live like NPCs. They're just on script. I'm like, you look like you should just be. I don't know. But yeah, I can't think of 100 strangers that I would save in lieu of the person I love. It's not a thing. Latter part of the question: would you kill 100 strangers to save one person you love? Absolutely. Absolutely. I will kill 100 people to save one person I love. This all be metaphorical. This all be metaphorical for the authorities. 12 and those of that ilk. Moving on. We got somebody from India watching, man. That's dope. That is dope. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Shoot. And my apologies. Nobody cares for you. Nobody cares about you. My apologies. Got people from India watching. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm one of those people that get on a plane and I will never not be impressed by planes and the act of flying through the air. I'm like, this will never not be normal. But this is dope, man. This is dope. Where am I from? I'm from New York. I've lived all over the place. My dad was military, and then I joined the military. And so I've lived in a ton of different states, a couple countries, and so yeah, it's been interesting. I have plans of visiting India one day. That would definitely be interesting to just explore the East, see how other people live. Moving on. Number 8. What do our dreams mean and how do they form? So my answer for this one is going to be purely theoretical because I have no clue the X's and O's and how things become dreams, thoughts become dreams. But dreams are definitely interesting. I would argue that your dreams consist of what you think about. They consist of what you think about. I'll get your question, pro tap in a minute. Pro tap. Get your question in a second. What do dreams mean and how do they form? I would argue, yeah, it's simply accumulation of thoughts, possibly. I think the chemicals you ingest has something to do with it as well. The chemicals you ingest, along with the thoughts you think, along with the foods you eat. I feel like your microbiome, your immune system, they all have a part to play, along with your subconscious. And the latter part of the question: do they predict the future in some way? So I'm one of those people who doesn't ignore dreams if it has a built-in warning. That's probably the only thing that I'll pay attention to when it comes to uh, dreaming. When it comes to dreaming, I pay attention to purely the warnings that are there, because everything else is too abstract, too abstract to find value within it. But if you're able to find a warning, just look at the warning. The last dream I had that had warnings built in were about two things: the rapture and women. The rapture and women. Patap asks, do you watch cricket or football? I watch football currently, even though the season's sadly over now. I have, I am forcing myself to dip my toe into the world of cricket. Um, and I'm starting by, like, those videos on TikTok where they say, it starts off like with maybe an interview clip where they're talking down about somebody, like, well, Kobe, he dropped in the draft because of the following, and then they go into a compilation of them going off. I use that in cricket or in other sports I don't understand. I just start with the whoever's the best, whoever name keeps getting mentioned in these high places on these podcasts and what have you, and I just go study their highlight and just see the way they live. So it's always interesting. Moving on. Number 9. What is the source of your self-worth? What is the source of your self-worth? This question would have validity. There's multiple ways to answer that question. I gotta find that right answer. It's the hard part. I'll think out loud. What is the source of your self-worth? So, a couple things come to mind. I don't think you can be valued in a vacuum if you're a human, because humans have to interact with people. You may think you don't. As a person who doesn't like clock into a regular job, I still have to interact with people. I still have to be valuable to people. I still have to solve problems for people, because that's how I get paid. That's how I get money. It's to solve problems. The source of my self-worth is probably a mixture of things. It's a mixture of things. For one, it's hard for me to ignore areas in my life that I've been successful in. It's hard for me to ignore those, and so I tend to dissect those. And I'm like, all right, how did I do this? Was it all me? What was it? God? What was it? Favor? Was it generosity? Was it kindness? How was this accomplished? And I try to reverse engineer it. The right way to answer the question is to say that God is the source of my self-worth, because he created me and he placed all the gifts within me. And because he is the source of all things, he will be the source of my self-worth. Now, when it comes to a practical answer, or like day-to-day human-to-human answer, my confidence tends to come from past victories. Past victories. If I consistently win in certain areas, I'm going to notice the trend. I'm like, this keeps happening. Maybe I'm just him. Like, if I keep going to the basketball court at my local LA Fitness and dropping 37 and 5 in 17 minutes of play, I stay on the court the entire day. Maybe I am him. It's kind of easy to follow the breadcrumbs with that. It's more difficult to follow the breadcrumbs of failure, but you're the only person trying in that area. If you're Elon Musk, you don't have any competition outside of the other billionaires. The things he's trying to accomplish, no one else is going to beat him to it. I'm sure there's an equivalent in probably each country around the world, but he's in his own lane. Where does his confidence come from? You wouldn't say it comes from victories, because how many victories does he truly have? He owns a public company. Public companies are always under the microscope. You can't say he's won just because he's accumulated money. He got bills. You know how many lawsuits he deals with? How many employees he has to deal with? Hiring and firing. I'm sure he's not all in the weeds, but ultimately, yeah, there isn't an objective way to measure whether or not his self worth is measured accurately in terms of his accomplishments because he's in his own lane. Most of us are not in our own lane doing something that hasn't been done already. Self worth. You'll hear a lot of people saying, "Oh well, if I think it's so, then it is." No, okay, it's true. As a man thinketh, so is he. You are your thoughts. You don't have to act upon them, but your thoughts are coming from someplace, and it's usually what you consume that contributes to your thoughts and your subconscious thoughts. It's a very interesting question. What is the source of your self-worth? The right answer is God. Do you believe this same source defines your purpose in life? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how you know a right answer is true, when people can follow up and the answer doesn't change. The source of your self-worth is God. Do you believe the same source defines your purpose in life? Absolutely. Yes. Number 10. We'll stop here. Do you believe you have just one soulmate or any in this world? Do you think anyone has actually met their true soulmate? How do you know when that happens? That's a very good question. So the first part of the question, do you believe you have just one soulmate or any in this world? I'm going to say no. I truly believe that there are people that have a genetic makeup that is so close to other people in terms of similarities that whether or not they're in love, whether or not they're friends or interacting with each other, they're going to find each other mainly because of their genetic predisposition. I think humans are so similar that to say that if we were increasingly similar that we will fall in love, I don't think we're that much different to begin with in terms of our day-to-day life. Most people vacation in the same places. If you live in America, most people think, I'm going to go to Florida for vacation for the simple reason the weather's nice. Why do most humans go to better weathered locations? Why is McDonald's such a pillar of society? It's because most people are eating there. It's not the minority of people eating there. It's the majority of people supporting these businesses. We're not that similar. We're not that dissimilar. So a soulmate almost implies that we're all just these random beings, and that through the crowd of gray, I saw red. And I'm like, you are different than everyone else, and then this love at first sight. I think a lot of it is just propaganda. I'm starting to believe that a lot of what we're taught in terms of romanticisms is propaganda. It's to sell things. Tinder is a company. Bumble is a company. They have employees. They have bills. They have overhead. Their purpose is to make money. So to think that paying any amount of money is going to get two humans that have their own free wills to move into the same place and just start a family and just go off in the sunset for the mere reason that this is the only other person in the universe for me. The probability doesn't even match that. It falls apart. So no, I don't believe soulmates. I do believe in similarities. I do believe in a man and a woman who are compatible. I have strengths, she has strengths. Where I'm weak, she's strong. Where I enjoy that symmetry. But to say that I can only do that one person, I don't think that's true, because there's a level of effort that's required in relationships. There's a level of giving and sacrifice that's required in relationships that you can make it work with anyone. They used to. They had arranged marriages back in the day, and they still do in certain parts of the world, where they just pick somebody that comes from a good family, has a good head on the shoulders, no disabilities, no foolishness, and they say, that's your wife, go figure it out. And somehow these couples last half a century. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. especially if no one's going, against their own will. Like if it's consensual, I'm like, all right, I may not like how they look or whatever, but this is family tradition, I'll go with it. And then they end up married 30, 40 years. I'm like, that's pretty impressive for two people who didn't know each other before their parents introduced each other. That's pretty impressive. So to say soulmates is the opposing idea, I don't buy it. Do you think anyone has actually met their true soulmates? Yes, only if they created it. I believe soulmates are created, not discovered. You can't discover something. You have to create a soulmate. Meaning, you meet somebody that you like enough, you decide to commit. That's your soulmate. Obvious play on words. How do you know when that happens? I don't think you do. Free will is ongoing. It's continuous. It doesn't stop. It doesn't expire. You have free will from moment to moment to moment. So your soulmate for 24 hours could be your enemy, your op, tomorrow. That's how free will works. It comes with risk. It comes with risk. The down payment for a relationship is risk. The down payment for family is risk, especially in today's world. These family courts are waiting in the weeds. Who's gonna be next? Who's gonna propose next to the Eiffel Tower? Who's gonna have to give the ring back? I'm telling you, Hallmark is doing their thing. All these, every kiss begins with K, and yeah, maybe relationships are a lot more simpler than we think they are. I'll do a couple more. Is there anything in this world that you believe everyone finds to be beautiful? Nature. The latter part of the question is, does inherent beauty exist? What do they mean by inherent? Let me look that up. Words have meaning. Inherent, existing in something as permanent, essential, or characteristic attribute. Well, if you're gonna put permanent in the definition, then of course the answer is no. Of course the answer is no if you put permanent in there. But to answer the question in the way it was asked, is there anything in the world that you believe everyone finds beautiful? Yeah, nature. I don't know anyone who's ever saw a sunset or a sunrise and called it mid, boring, ugly, distasteful, disgusting. You've never heard that. Nature's never wrong, just inconvenient. It's never wrong, it's inconvenient. Nature is. You've never called grass ugly. You called the lack of grass ugly. You've never called grass or trees that seems like it doesn't fit. No, if it's natural, most people just go with it. I also believe that there's certain areas of mathematics that people might find pleasing, or physics, that have like visual architecture, visually appealing, what have you, based on certain algorithms and ratios, what have you. I think nature is probably the closest thing to beauty in terms of how we define things. It's where we get all of our colors from. You look outside and all the colors are there. Even in the sky. And when I was in the Middle East, the sky looked 3D. It looked like that big sphere in Las Vegas. It did not look real. I'm like, how are those colors possible in nature? Does inherent beauty exist? I truly believe it does, but only in a natural sense. And humans are a part of nature. Everyone's not beautiful. Otherwise, beauty wouldn't exist. Dark only exists because of light. It only exists because of light. Ugly only exists because of beauty. We only recognize beauty because we see ugly enough of the time that we can recognize when something's not ugly. Now, to make it objective and say what is objectively beautiful all the time and permanently, it's nature. And humans increasingly are becoming less and less a part of nature. We don't even touch the grass that often. We don't touch dirt. We don't go on hikes that often. Vitamin D is a supplement now instead of something we just get for free from the sun. It's forever available. Nature is the solution to probably a ton. I mean, I was looking up what's it called, petting farms earlier this morning. I was like, I'm gonna pet some baby cows and some goats. Still might do it. But yeah, nature is where I look for beauty. It's always there. You don't gotta pay for it. It's everywhere. A flower. I was thinking about doing my top 5 favorite plants. Number 1 is the palm tree. Number 2 will probably be the willow tree. But if I get me a yard, in the middle it's just willow trees. On the outskirts of the yard, palm trees, and then luscious grass that I might walk upon with my person. Number 3 will probably be the sunflower. Beautiful flower. Oh my goodness. The symmetry, it's immaculate. And then lastly, I'll probably number 4, the rose maybe. The rose, minus the thorns. Yeah, nature is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Number 12. We'll end with this. We'll end with this one. Is nature cyclical, or is the Earth headed towards complete disorder? Are humans creating things as quickly as we're destroying them? Is nature cyclical, or is the Earth headed toward complete disorder? I think the only that heads entropy is a weird topic because everything tends toward disorder. Does that apply to nature? I think it only applies to nature when we're talking about man-made things placed in natural settings. If you place a log cabin in the middle of Alaska and you just leave it there, you come back a year from now, it's going to look much different than when you first placed it there because nature is the original. Nature is the original. And nature is in order. Nature is never in disorder. Humans are in disorder. Any natural disaster that happens in the world, it's usually caused by men, like mankind. Anything that oh my God, something's happening. Well, it's humans that are, especially like during the pandemic, humans were panicking. Nothing else was. The animals were fine. The trees were right where we left them. But the most intelligent beings on the planet, supposedly, were panicking. How is that? Nature is cyclical in the sense of the seasons, 4 seasons, the sun rises and sets predictably. We're grateful. Gravity is the same today as it was yesterday. Yesterday, when I got out of my bed, nothing happened that was catastrophic due to the changing metrics and the assumption of uniformitarianism. The assumption that the farther back we go back in time, everything was the same, when that's not true. Is nature cyclical, or is the Earth headed toward complete disorder? I don't think humans will be here that long. Much longer. Humans tend toward disorder as well, just like the things that we create. Are humans creating things as quickly as we're destroying them? No, not at all. There's a rule for creators, typically that you should be creating more than you're consuming. I should be making more live streams than I'm watching. I don't think we're capable of that. Well, we are capable of that. We're not willing to do so. We're not willing to be creating more. Like, if I'm going to spend... last time I checked, I had 16 hours of screen on time on my phone. It's mostly due to YouTube, because I'm constantly consuming. Now, the question asks, are we creating things as quickly as we're destroying them? Again, no. Not so much consuming, but destroying things? I'm pretty sure we're destroying... Well, no. I think we're doing more harm to ourselves than we are to anything else in this world. I know it's a bit of a moving the goalpost type answer, but in terms of what we're destroying, our minds are being destroyed at a quicker rate than anything around us. Our environment, we talk about global warming, and the sun is, and the following, and the atmosphere, and the temperature of the earth, and the ice caps, and it's a lot. It's a lot. When I hear global warming arguments, the first thing I think of is, what is the temperature of my room, my car? Let me just focus on that. Trying to control the temperature of the earth seems like a fool's errand. Sir, do you know Andrew Tate? I'm well aware of his person and his content. Yes, I don't know him personally. What do you mean by global warming? So this idea, and I'm sure it has some merit to it because we're spending money on it, but that's what America and Congress spends money on is not typically an indication of what's valuable or what's purposeful, what we should be focusing on. If the Earth, let's assume the Earth is getting warmer, how do we stop that as humans? How do you stop an Earth from doing something, a planet from doing something, as humans? We can't. Oh, let's drive less. You go first. Let's fly less. You go first. Let's use less energy. You go first. The Earth is overcrowded. You go first. The Antarctica is melting and the sea levels are rising and Florida's going to disappear at some point. You go first. The people that are claiming that something is happening in the Earth aren't the people trying to change on the front lines, starting with themselves. Now, that is appeal to hypocrisy, which is a logical fallacy. However, yeah, I don't think we have. If we can barely control the temperature of our homes and our cars, the indoor spaces, then why would we try to control the temperature of the Earth? Shout out to you, man. Appreciate the question. I will see y'all next video. And again, if you're interested, this is developgoodhabits.com. 235 deep philosophical questions for a thought-provoking conversation. This is by Connie Stamelli. January 17th, 2022. This is a great list of questions. This was a great list of questions. I definitely enjoyed going through it. It would have been even better if I was caffeinated, but we have to do what we have to do. But either way, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for everybody coming in. I believe we had a max of around 7 people watching. So again, I'm grateful. Shout out to people watching on Twitch. I had to time a couple people out just because of the purpose that brings us here today. Anyway, I'm grateful. 18 days and I'll be different. Got me a little countdown timer on it. 18 days and life will be different. Yeah, I will see you on next video. Say what's good to your boy. And appreciate everybody watching. Patreon.com/Raymond Isaiah if you want to support this channel. If you want to join the channel. All links are in the description. If you want to reach me, contact me. All my links are in the description. Or at least they should be. Check out my TikTok. I'm posting content there daily, just about Raymond Isaiah podcast is the name of that, so it should be pretty easy to find. But yeah, I appreciate everybody coming through. Say what's good to your boy.